Good Sunday morning. Good Sunday morning. Good Sunday morning. All right, everybody. Have I got something special for you today? Hope you're having a wonderful and blessed day today. This is going to be a super powerful, mind-blowing message today. Hope you're having a wonderful and blessed Sunday. Today's scripture text is Mark chapter 5, verses 6, 22, 27, and 28. Seeing Christ in the midst of a crisis. Seeing Christ in the midst of a crisis. Afghanistan. Some of us are scared of being inside a plane. There are people hanging on to the outside of the plane trying to get to safety. The Haiti earthquake, 1,400 people deceased or more. Then days later, a hurricane, 2 natural disasters. Our world, global pandemic, the Delta strain. Let's go locally. We are in a crisis. People sick in Parkland Hospital, Baylor Hospital, a crisis, no medication to heal. Today's text has 3 people: the Gadarene demonic, the determined dad, and the diseased woman. The text opens up with Jesus entering the Gadarene city, and immediately he is met with a demoniac, a man that had no self-control, was self-destructing, and living in a graveyard. He was mentally ill. This pandemic has played on our psyches. If we are not careful, we will end up like the Gadarene demonic, mentally ill and out of control. Being alone, shut inside, and being in fear of being sick or dying, it can make you worry, become depressed, and even become suicidal. If you want to see Christ in the midst of your crisis, number 1, be a worshiper. The Gadarene demonic ran to Jesus. Even at your lowest level, worship Christ. See Christ. Now, the story of the Gadarene demonic ends with Jesus delivering the demons out of the man. The demons went into some swine. The swine ran violently down a hill and committed suicide in the sea. They didn't want the devil in them either. This was an example of Jesus' power over demons. Now let's look at Jesus' power over disease. Jesus was on his way to see Jairus' daughter because she was very ill. But Jesus felt a touch. It was a woman that was ill with no cure. She said, "Only if I can just touch the hem of his garment." Now the crowd following Jesus was huge, but Jesus felt her touch. The lady in her distress was determined. If you want to see Jesus in the midst of your crisis, be determined to see Jesus. The lady was healed. Sickness will force us back to Christ. A crisis will force us back to Christ. The lady's soul was healed. She received a resolution and a relationship. If you want to see Jesus in a crisis, you have to know that Jesus has power over death. You have to believe that Jesus has power over death. The pastor told of what happened to him on March the 12th of this year. His best friend, age 51, had a massive heart attack at work. He was found by his assistant The assistant had been studying for her RN license, and she immediately went into action until the medics got there. They worked on the man also, but wanted to call it after 5 minutes. But the assistant said, no, keep working on him till he gets to the hospital. He got to the hospital with no pulse. He had been without any oxygen for 45 minutes and no brain for 45 minutes. It did not look good. The man's wife arrived at the hospital and said, I believe. Now, mind you, this happened on March the 12th of this year. No change through April the 15th of this year. The pastor sent a text on April the 15th of this year to the man's wife, and there was no response. So the pastor said, he said, Lord, help my unbelief. On April the 27th of this year, the pastor received a call. He thought it was his friend's wife, but it was his friend Tracy. He was alive. Now remember, March the 12th, massive heart attack, arrived at the hospital with no pulse, had been without any oxygen for 45 minutes, no brain for 45 minutes, no change in his circumstances through April the 15th, a whole month and 3 days later. But on April the 27th, the pastor received a call that he thought it was his friend's wife, but it was his friend. He was alive. I had to say it again. True story, the pastor told. The power of Jesus over death. See Jesus in the midst of your crisis. He can change it. He can change any outcome. Give Jesus everything that you got. Surrender all. Give the Lord your heart today. Seek Jesus now, today. Let me go over these 3 points again. The power of God over demonics. He can bring you out of any state of mind. The power of a determined dad, which Jairus, getting Jesus there for his child, which actually the pastor didn't cover that one. But the determination was for the diseased woman that God had power over the disease too, and the power of death. God has the power. And he gave his only son, Jesus, the power over life and death. Anything in your situation, he has the power to fix it. So today, if you would just go ahead, and I ask you again, just surrender all and give your heart to God. Give your heart to God. And that way you will be seeing Christ in the midst of your crisis. I pray for you this week that you have a wonderful and blessed and amazing week. Give your heart to Jesus and see Christ in the midst of your crisis. Be blessed.